Yo, I just got some information myself, man, because it was strange to me that every month he's going up for a bail hearing. And I know that seems strange to a lot of people.
In the meantime, let's go back to New York City. Want to get some updates on the case that is unfolding there regarding Sean.
Oh my God, you won't believe what just went down at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. This wasn't just some random prison check with flashlights and clipboards. We're talking about a full-blown FBI and DEA operation that had everyone's jaws on the floor. 9 units, tactical teams, and federal agents swarming one of America's most notorious detention centers. And guess who's sitting right in the middle of all this drama? None other than Shaw Diddy Combs himself. Coincidence? I think not. But the real tea is what they were looking for and how it connects to the biggest scandal in entertainment history.
So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily so, I guess, right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind.
Let me paint you this picture, honey. Imagine something straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. We're talking agents everywhere, dogs sniffing through every corner, and cells being turned inside out. Of course, the authorities tried to play it cool, claiming there was no active threat, and it was just routine procedures. But please, anyone with half a brain knows there's way more to this story than they're letting on. With all these allegations swirling around Diddy and them choosing to raid the very place he's locked up in, the timing is just too perfect.
When people got a lot of money and they got lawyers that can come up with different reasons and different information and present it to the courts, that they are able to get how many bail hearings, as long as you got different information to present to the court, different evidence.
Now, let me tell you about this Metropolitan Detention Center, because child, it is rough. We're not talking about some cushy celebrity jail. This place has literally been called hell on earth, and for good reason. Picture this: overcrowded cells, safety issues everywhere you look, and a building that's practically falling apart. I mean, imagine freezing during winter because the power keeps going out, having more rats than guards. And medical care? Honey, that's more of a wishful thinking than reality. And here's the kicker: some judges straight up refuse to send people there because it's so barbaric. Yet this is where Diddy, Mr. Private Jets and million-dollar mansions himself, is calling home. Talk about a reality check.
So you got to realize he got a lot of money. He still got a lot of money because he's paying these high-profile lawyers to take this case. So in having them to take this case, they're able to construct a lot of information together to making sure that when they go to the courts, they can say, yo, Your Honor, listen here. This is something that's changed. This is something that's new. This is something that's different.
But let's circle back to this raid, because the timing is everything. Why now? Why bring in the whole cavalry? Some people are whispering that it's all connected to Diddy's high-profile case, especially with all these accusations about witness tampering and his behind-the-scenes shenanigans. I mean, we're not talking about just any inmate here. This is Diddy. His name alone makes people sit up and pay attention. And those rumors about what they found during the sweep? Child, let me tell you, word on the street is they uncovered some very interesting items, including sensitive documents that were definitely not supposed to be there. The authorities are being super tight-lipped about what exactly they found. But honey, when you bring in that many federal agents, you know they're looking for something big.
A whole forestry of next week, because what they did was they held off whatever the procedures was going to go down today. The judge said he's going to revisit this next week. So I guess, I don't know if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll find out what's going on, but it's going to be something that I think it may shock the world.
Can we just talk about how absolutely wild this whole situation is? Here's a man who basically owned Hollywood, throwing these legendary parties that had A-listers begging for invites, living like absolute royalty. And now, he's just another inmate in a facility that couldn't care less about his platinum records or fancy friends. And this 1600 Brooklyn facility, it's basically become a symbol of everything wrong with our prison system. We're talking daily violence, overcrowding that would make a sardine can look spacious, and human rights? Please, they might as well be optional. Yet somehow this place keeps operating, housing some of the biggest names we've seen, from Ghislaine Maxwell to R. Kelly, and now Diddy. Talk about a grim reality check when power and privilege crash headfirst into justice.
Diddy is a multi-millionaire. He's a multi-millionaire. If he wins this case against them, look at all the business that he lost. Look what they made him look like in the public eye. He could bankrupt. he could bankrupt the government.
But here's the real gag. While everyone's obsessing over Diddy's situation, MDC Brooklyn's problems go so much deeper. The tea about systemic neglect, corruption, and abuse has been spilling for years, and this raid just proves how bad things really are. Want to hear something juicy? Several staff members have been caught accepting bribes and helping with illegal activities. It's like this whole culture of see no evil, hear no evil that just lets these problems.
They know they already won their case. He's gonna have to plead guilty to something. Maybe the guns, it may be the sex trafficking, it may be some stuff they found in the tax evasion. It may be charges that we don't even know about. But he's gonna have to plead guilty to something which get them off the hook.
And let's talk about the other inmates for a minute, the ones who don't have Diddy's fame or fortune. For them, this raid was just another power play in their daily struggle. While Diddy's got the cameras rolling and headlines screaming his name, these people are just trying to survive without million-dollar legal teams or fans fighting their corner. For them, this raid wasn't about justice, it was just another day in their nightmare.
They know they already won their case. He's gonna have to plead guilty to something. Maybe the guns, it may be the sex trafficking, it may be some stuff they found in the tax evasion. It may be charges that we don't even know about. But he's gonna have to plead guilty to something which get them off the hook.
So where does this leave our fallen mogul? Well, Diddy's still cooling his heels in custody while his legal team works overtime. They're pushing hard for bail, crying about how the conditions at MDC Brooklyn aren't just inhumane but are making it impossible for him to prepare his defense. But here's the tea. Even though the judge has been giving them the cold shoulder so far, all this attention on the facility's horrible conditions might actually work in Diddy's favor. Think about it. It's one thing to deny bail because of serious charges, but it's another thing entirely to keep someone locked up in what's basically a concrete nightmare.
Wait a minute, say that again. Say that again, back up. You're saying that there's tapes and they're being shopped?
Yes, there have been people already shopping.
We've heard about the tapes, but
yes.
The shopping thing is...
Yes, there already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood. But one particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of.
Hold up. Did you hear that? There are tapes being shopped around Hollywood. Yes, you heard that right. People have been quietly passing these videos around, and get this, someone actually reached out trying to sell one particular video they had their hands on. The drama just keeps getting juicier, and don't think for a second that the FBI and their squad are done with this mess. Sure, they made their big show of force with the raid, but honey, this is just the beginning. Everyone's wondering what's next. Will there be more raids, more investigations, and will anything actually change at MDC Brooklyn? Right now, we've got more questions than answers, but one thing's crystal clear. The whole world is watching, and the stakes have never been higher.
It sounds like there was probably a lot of hidden cameras as well. Is that what is being talked about?
Yes, this was actually in his Atlanta home, at a home he had in Atlanta at one point. And it does seem that the person isn't like looking into the video, so it's, to me, doesn't seem like that person knows they're being videotaped. It doesn't seem like they're active participant in the videotaping.
Let me tell you, this isn't just about one man's fall from grace anymore. This is a window into a completely broken system. From the corruption inside those walls to the bigger forces that let these conditions continue, it's all coming to light. Sure, the headlines love the drama and spectacle, but the real story, it's in those shadows, in those silenced voices, and all those questions nobody's answering.
That fact in of itself is a big deal, because when you're talking about going back in time and talking about these allegations from other alleged victims, there's not a lot of police reports, but you guys actually have one. And is that going to be revealed? Are we going to be able to see it?
Yes, as soon as I file my lawsuit in civil court, I will be attaching the...
Everyone's wondering, is this really the end of Diddy's empire? Or will he somehow climb back to the top? And more importantly, what does this whole mess tell us about justice in America? These questions aren't just about Diddy anymore. They're about power, privilege, and holding people accountable. And oh my goodness, just when you think you've heard it all, Diddy's legal team comes out swinging with this absolutely wild bail request. We're not talking about your average let me out of jail plea. This is a whole chess game with millions on the line. Their latest strategy? It's so outrageous you won't believe it. Picture this. They're proposing what they're calling one of the most restrictive bail packages ever seen. They want to put Diddy in this fancy 3-bedroom apartment on Manhattan's Upper East Side, with security watching his every move 24/7. No unauthorized visitors, no internet access, limited phone calls, basically turning this luxury apartment into a gilded cage. And get this, they're offering to foot the bill for all the security themselves, which could run into tens of millions. But even with all these promises, the judge still said no.
Is everybody familiar with the old Houdini? So what Diddy's lawyers are trying to do is pull a Houdini. They're trying to say that the evidence that they have is different. Well, it's not different. The video that the entire world has seen is not going to go away. The fact that he had parties that were freak-offs is not going away. So it's just a question of whether or not.
And here's why that judge isn't budging. It's all about trust, or should I say, the complete lack of it. The prosecutors have painted this wild picture of Diddy breaking rules even behind bars. I mean, can you believe he's allegedly been using other inmates' phone accounts to make unauthorized calls? And those handwritten notes they found in his cell? Supposedly instructing family members to dig up dirt on accusers. Talk about not helping your case.
And then if he does, this new, quote, robust bail package, you can avoid and evade. And he is very connected with people that can help him avoid and evade. I'm not saying he will, but I would be surprised if the court grants him a bond. When the federal government wants you detained, you are normally detained. And here it was a very far-reaching situation that he was involved in.
But wait, because this tea just got even hotter. Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, just spilled some major beans about his ex-boss. According to Deal, Diddy isn't just clever enough to outsmart the system. He's got the resources to vanish into thin air if he gets the chance. Deal actually said, let's be real, D's got connections all over the world if he wanted to vanish. He could private jets, offshore accounts, you name it, he got options most people don't. No wonder prosecutors are fighting so hard to keep him locked up. And let's be real, Diddy isn't just fighting for his freedom anymore. His whole legacy is on the line. This man's name used to mean success in the entertainment world, but now, these accusations of intimidation, coercion, and misconduct are casting some serious shadows over everything he's built. The court of public opinion? Child, they are not being kind.
I gotta pitch you on the spot, right? Do you believe he get bail next week or no?
I think that if the lawyers can come up with a good enough agreement, you gotta realize, why is this the third judge? We already know this is the third bail hearing.
Here's what's really interesting. Diddy's lawyers are actually using the horrible conditions at MDC Brooklyn to try to get him out. They're calling it inhumane and dangerous, talking about overcrowding and safety issues. And honestly, they're not wrong. The place has been a nightmare for years. Violence, neglect, conditions that would make your skin crawl. But even with all these valid points about the horrible conditions, the judges are more worried about public safety, especially with all these allegations about predatory behavior. It's like they're saying, sorry, not sorry. Your comfort isn't our priority.
What's particularly interesting is how Diddy's lawyers are using the conditions at MDC Brooklyn as part of their argument for his release. They've described the facility as inhumane and dangerous, highlighting everything from overcrowding to safety concerns. And honestly, they're not wrong. The detention center has been plagued by issues for years, with numerous reports of violence, neglect, and unsanitary conditions. It's not exactly the kind of place where anyone, let alone a high-profile figure like Diddy, would want to be. His lawyers have argued that these conditions are preventing him from preparing his defense effectively, which is a valid point. But here's the thing. While these arguments might hold weight in a different case, the severity of the charges against Diddy makes it a tough sell. Judges are more likely to prioritize public safety over the comfort of the accused, especially when the allegations involve patterns of predatory behavior.
And honey, we need to talk about these freak-off parties that everyone's whispering about. These weren't just your regular celebrity parties. We're talking about exclusive, anything-goes gatherings that were kept hush-hush for years. But now, people are coming forward and those rumors are starting to look real messy. Attorney Tony Busby dropped this bomb. He's representing over 120 alleged victims, and he's not playing around, saying things like, if you were there and you saw something wrong and said nothing, you're just as responsible. Silence isn't innocence. Let me tell you, Hollywood is shaking. Celebrities are scrubbing their social media faster than you can say delete, trying to distance themselves from Diddy like he's radioactive. But here's the thing. You can run from your past, but you can't hide from it. And if Busby's team has the receipts they claim to have, a lot of big names might be in for a very rough wake-up call.
So there's a few things going on. First is the privilege issue. The judge will decide whether the documents are privileged or not. If they're not, they're going to go to the government. If the documents are not only not privileged, but they're evidence of witness tampering, then a few things can happen, all of which are bad for Sean Diddy Combs. First, of course, he could face obstruction of justice charges in a superseding indictment.
Of course, Diddy's legal team is fighting back like their lives depend on it. His attorney Mark Igno came out swinging, saying, "These accusations are nothing more than a cash grab. My client is a target because of his success, plain and simple." But here's what everyone's wondering. How much of this is just spin and how much is actually true? And just when you thought it couldn't get messier, that surveillance footage of Diddy and his partner Cassie leaked. His lawyers tried to say it's all taken out of context, but honey, those visuals, they speak volumes about the power dynamics in his relationships.
He doesn't kind of buy what the prosecution's selling. He thinks they've looked at the notes.
Yeah.
He thinks that they're cheating.
I mean, I would think that too.
But apparently what happened is commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just about Diddy anymore. It's about this whole culture of power and privilege that let people like him operate without consequences for so long. The entertainment industry is having to face some ugly truths about itself. And while Diddy's the one in the spotlight right now, he's definitely not the only one sweating.
If they did in fact occur, their argument is more than likely going to be that this activity was consensual, that this person was a willing participant, and not only that, but that these individuals assumed the risk of being present at those parties, of engaging and voluntarily engaging in the conduct and being in those spaces, consuming and things of that nature.
As this drama keeps unfolding, one thing's for sure. Diddy's story is far from over. Whether he manages to save his name or becomes a cautionary tale, this case is showing us just how complicated power, privilege, and accountability really are. Will he somehow turn this around, or is this really the end of his empire? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for all the latest updates on this wild ride. See you in the next video.